Hey everyone, welcome back to Coaching Changes Lives. So glad you can join us this week. Now, if you're new to our channel, do remember to hit the subscribe button and press the notification bell to stay tuned with all the latest updates that we have for you. So, whether you're a coach, maybe you're a leader, maybe you just happen to stumble upon our channel, I want to encourage you that coaching has the power to change lives. And if you've not had a coach before, come. But I welcome you to join us in one of our programs, or just write into me and say, Jedi, can I have a coaching session with you? And I'll be more than happy to have that little conversation with you, because I truly believe that it takes a conversation to truly change life. Now, one of the interesting things over the last several weeks we've explored is this idea and concept of future, the future possibilities. People have often asked me, say, Jedi, why do you keep on calling future? Well, because in our world, in our generation today, when we think about the future, we think about the future as a very linear pathway. We think about the future as just one line. What we don't realize is that the future isn't a singular line. The future, it's more than that. The future lies the power, lies the potentiality. The future has so much within it. The future holds the mysteries, doors behind doors. And I want to encourage you that coaching is an ongoing skill development. Too often I see coaches running around trying to get new skills, but never quite deepening their skill level. So what I aim to do in this whole process is to help empower coaches all around the world to equip you with a deeper depth of skill. Now, I've seen a lot of videos out there that are individuals that go out there and say, hey, you know what, you shouldn't spend too much time learning about coaching. You should just spend more time on marketing yourself. Well, the truth is this. The degree of your skill level as a coach will determine the degree of your client's success. I want to help my clients, the best way I can. So I want to improve myself every single day. I want to upgrade my skills. And therefore, I truly believe that this approach to coaching will truly set you apart and truly help your clients in a whole nother level. And this approach of non-linear in coaching will truly change lives. So I'm going to share with you 3 very powerful keys and strategies to capitalize on the neoteric principle of Puture. In the last few videos, I've shared with you a little bit more about the depths of coaching, and I'm going to share with you some slides here that will help you go deeper. But what you promised me to do is this. If you like this video and it's helping you, I want you to share me your stories that has transformed your life and your client's life with me on my channel here at Coaching Changes Lives. Share me on Google Review or engage with me on LinkedIn as well at Jedidiah Alex, right? So I want to engage with you because I want to hear your stories. I know many of you have been impacted by the videos that we've produced here, and I just want these videos to be out there giving a lot of great content. And we have not much editing because it's just one take, because I want to share from my heart the amazing stories of coaching. So tell me a little bit more about how you've experienced coaching over the last several years, and even your own journey as a coach. Let me know your stories, and when you've applied some of these tools you've learned, some of these techniques and some of these skills, I want you to share me also what has become clearer for you. Okay, so let's dive right in. There are 3 main principles here that I want to cover. 1, it's the frame for which we see. Number 2, it's a shift from linear to non-linear growth. And number 3, the Macédoine of clarity, of options to clarity. Right, so these 3 principles are going to be very impactful. So get out your journals, get out your writing materials, and I want you to write notes in this. And this is going to be something very helpful for coaches all around the world, in whichever part of the world you're living in. I want you to know out there, right? Doesn't matter from whichever language you're from, whichever culture you're from, this same approach will help you tremendously improve your coaching engagement with your clients. So these 3 strategies is going to be really important for you to capitalize on this concept of Puture. So really exciting. Number 1, it's what I call the frame for which we experience our world. The frame from which we experience our world. Are we staying away? Are we staying put? Are we moving towards? Now, these are the different frames that we put on in our very own lens of the world. Now, there's nothing wrong with the frame. But what happens is that are we allowing the frame to prevent us, or are we allowing the frame to support us? There's some areas in our lives that maybe the frame of running away might be useful. For example, maybe running away from danger. That's a useful frame. Maybe moving towards an outcome, moving towards overcoming challenges. That's a great frame to have. However, the frame in and of itself are neither good nor bad. They are just frames. We got to recognize the frames. Are they supporting us, and how are they being utilized in the world of our lands? So the running away frame, it's when we move away from the past and wanting to get somewhere else. The staying put is where we say, hey, you know what, I'm comfortable where I am. I don't think I need to move because I'm great. I'm good at where I am. I'm good. So don't tell me to move. I'm just happy. I'm satisfied. I'm content. Life is more than enough. I don't have to do anything else. I just want to be here. Now, some people mix up contentment from what we call mediocrity. Some people mix up contentment from mediocrity. What do we mean by that? Now, sometimes we know on the inside of us that, hey, we have compromised in our own learnings and our own growth by saying, you know what, I'm just going to stay put, I'm not going to push any harder, I'm just going to be content, I'm just going to learn to be content. The truth is this, the reason we're saying we want to be content is not because we want to be content, it's because we're afraid. We're afraid of something. And that is something that's what's holding us back. So the frame of staying put does the opposite for us. Now, the frame of moving toward, it's when we think about the future orientation, how we move forward, how we move closer to our outcomes. So there are 5 different ways to see it. The frame from which we see, that's the sight. What is the sight that you're having? Are we having a myopic sight? So how are we oriented in this? When we want to move to an outcome, are we moving toward those goals or running away from the past? Are we moving away from a certain pain point and fear, or are they moving toward a certain envisaged outcome? Listening actively and reflecting the different frames and perceptions of multiple realities allow leaders and teams to know the key motivators for the team and how they currently perceive themselves and the situation they're in. Now, there are a few ways for us to dive into the frame which we see. This is where we see the sight that we're using. What are you seeing about your world, your current circumstances, your situation? This is your current perception of things. What are you seeing about yourself? That is still you. Number 3, are we trying to move away from something we don't want, or are we trying to move away from something that we do want? Number 4, are we trying to move toward the desired outcome, or move toward not letting ourselves down again? What are we trying to do here? So when we look from the lens of how we see the world around us, are we moving toward? Are we moving backwards? Take some time now. Take a journal out and write down for yourself. Is there something you're currently stuck with? And are you trying to move toward? Are you trying to move backwards? Are you trying to move away from? Or are you trying to move toward? This is something that's going to be important for us as we consider this. So I call this frame 1A, the frame from which we see. Frame 1B, the frame from which we feel. Now, how we feel is very important because how we feel actually influences how we act. And how we act actually produces the outcome that we desire. So what do we notice about our client's frame in front of us when they're expressing their feelings? How are we noticing our own frame? Are you recognizing your own frame, your own internal frame? Well, there are 6 primary emotions that is purported widely and popularized by Paul Ekman in the 1970s. And it's the 6 emotions of happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, anger, and surprise. And that's quite interesting there. Happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, anger, and surprise. What does it surprise you here? So when we consider this, what's happening in our client's world right now? How are they feeling? What feelings are they exhibiting? Are they feeling sad? Are they feeling happy? Are they feeling a sense of disgust, anger, surprise? What are they feeling on the inside of them? Because the very emotions unveil the very emotions. So I say that again. The very emotions unveil the very emotions. What are the connections of the feelings to the context of the client? And to what extent does those feelings impact the client's ability to move forward? And how are those feelings holding them back? Are they associated to it or are they dissociated from it? And taking those feelings to explore beyond in new expanded ways and ideas. So this is what I often say. Most of the time, Our clients are very associated to the feelings that they don't want, but they're very quick to dissociate from the feelings that they do want. And as such, they find it a struggle to move towards what they really want. The reverse must happen. They must begin to dissociate from the feelings that they don't want and associate with the feelings that they do want. Because you know what? The feelings that we don't want is holding us back, and because of the negative energy, the negative feelings, it's really holding us back. It's trotting us backwards. So how do we move forward in this? Well, that is when we become more associated with what we want, creating that compelling future forward. 1C, the frame from which we hear. What are we listening to? What are we listening to today? What were the stories? Are we listening to the stories of impossibilities? Are we listening to the stories of courage? Are we listening to the stories or tuning in to the channel of defeat or the channel of resolve? So I always imagine this one thing. It's a little bit like the radio, right? So I listen to the radio and am I tuning in to those channels of defeat, or am I tuning into the channels of resolve? Because that resolve, the hero's resolve, is what will push us forward. In fact, I have a whole video on the hero's resolve on our YouTube channel at Coaching Changes Lives. I want you to click on that and watch that. It's going to help you a lot. You need that resolve. And getting a coach to work alongside with you will help you get that resolve to move forward, to help you get the gumption to move forward. When was the last time you engaged with a coach? Well, I don't want you to miss anything out, because getting the right coach would mean sometimes life or sometimes a dying mindset. So engage a right coach, because what we hear will really encourage us. You know, a while ago, there was a client that came to me and said, Jedi, I'm always hearing this from my mentor. He's saying that I can't do it, you can't do it, you are not good enough, you're this, you're that, you're this or that. So I asked him one question. Are you listening to the voice of defeat, or are you listening to the voice of victory? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be victorious, or do you want to stay defeated? Then you could start changing the channel. So what we hear influences how we think, and it affects the very core of our being. Think about a time when you're happy, and then hearing something that shook your core. Control the filters of our ear gate that we hear and allow to enter are the very filters we place on our internal representation of the world. Bring to awareness those present filters and allow the client to decide what they would like to have happen with those anchors. 1D. Let's take a look at this. It's the frame from which we think. Our very cognition is the doorway of how we make meaning. Our thinking is both controlled at a conscious and unconscious level of information, and information is coming to us in rapid successions. But we're not conscious of all the information that's coming in. We're conscious of what we know and what we hear, but we're not conscious of all the information. But we're still receiving those information, and how our minds process them is through our own internal heuristics, our own internal cognition systems, our own internal biases. Now, as we unravel the premise of those thoughts and how they came about, the fundamental building blocks of what made those connections and meanings internally, we begin to bring light. We begin to bring light and the thoughts underneath those thoughts. So I call this the deep calleth unto deep. The cognition is a complex web that often bewilders our rational brains. And if we try to analyze from the coach perspective, we're trying to make meaning from the lens of our world. But what must happen instead is to take on the perceptual position of the client and let them see through the lens of the world of their eyes. And think about the Frog's Paradox that I talked about in class before. You want to find out more? Join us in our Mastering Coaching program, because that is where I talk a lot more about the Frog's Paradox. It's a very powerful paradox, and it helps a lot of coaches and clients to unravel the deep truths within their hearts. In fact, in one of my programs, that's why I call it Brave Your Story. It's my personalized, individual, one-on-one coaching with my clients about helping them to brave their story. Each one of us have a story worth to tell. That story, it's a beautiful story. A story of hope, a story of peace, a story that will ignite fire from within. And 1E, the frame from which we act. The frame from which we act. So notice this. This is the action frame. Our very behaviors shows up what we truly believe in. When we see the actions and behaviors the clients have taken, we can identify through which frame they are approaching their world. Are those behaviors supporting them to move forward? Are those behaviors reinforcing their setbacks? Are those behaviors reaffirming their thoughts of the future? And how have those behaviors become a habit? How have those behaviors become a habit for them? So the action or the doing always comes and follows after the gate of being. The more we define, the more we realize what we see, what we hear, what we feel, and what we think, the more we realize how we act and how we behave. And that will influence a lot in this process about how we begin to define the future for us. Now, number 2, the shift from linear to non-linear growth. What is growth? I've heard this said so many times, but often people get it wrong. I always see a brain and people comparing between a growing mindset and a fixed mindset. It's not a growing versus a fixed mindset. It's a growing mindset versus a dying mindset. Think about this. If you have a plant and you don't water the plant, you don't nurture the plant, you don't cultivate the plant, what do you think will happen? Will the plant remain the same plant, or will the plant wither and die? Well, the truth, the plant will wither and die. So there needs to be a dramatic shift. Shifting from a lentitude approach of thinking to the lissom approach of frame of mind. Looking at the future pathway not in a singular dimensionality, but in multiple branches from each step of the time. Externalizing the problem and dissociating from one's current frame and breaking the problem into smaller chunks and looking at them from multiple dimensionalities. Now, the coach works with the client to explore alternatives and to stimulate the potentiality of solutions and options, and the key is the solutioning process. It's not just trying to be solution focused, but it's the solutioning process. The progressing and the resulting impact of those decisions truly matter. So what we often say is this: appreciating the greatness within the teams and embracing the multifaceted sides of a diamond, because we're not limited to a singular timeline. Our stories is the stories that it's unfolding. It's not just one timeline, and the outcome, it's really non-linearity of exponential growth. That's what we want. We want to see an exponential growth in this. And therefore, I want you to consider 2 parts here. Linear growth versus non-linear growth. In the linear growth, we think about we work in stages, steps, sequences to get to the outcome. We think about working on a base, forecasted timeline, and a backtrack frame. However, most individuals overestimate what they can do in the short term, but underestimate what they can do in the long term. The non-linear growth, and sometimes what we call that, are the building blocks of today. It sets the exponential potential of tomorrow. And I call this the kaleidoscope of coaching. From the lens we see, and as we turn the different lights, different arrays of lights that's drawing us in, that is helping us to make meaning. It's helping us to create a deeper sense of connection from within. That shift from a linear growth mindset to a non-linear growth mindset helps us to get from a linear growth potential to an exponential growth potential. In fact, in one of my personalized coaching, I take coaches from where they are to help them experience exponential growth in their business, in their engagement, in their skills level, and helping them to create whole another dimensionality for themselves. And that's the beauty of exponential growth. Exponential growth, it's all about helping the clients see non-linearity. Number 3, turning the Macédoine of options into clarity. That's like a hodgepodge, a Gallimaufry effect, where we have so many different items within, and we're trying to help to unravel all the little deep secrets within. So, with the multitude of possibilities comes another challenge: confusion. So many options to choose. How do I decide which options to go for? Should I go for this? Should I go for that? Should I go for which one should I go? I got so many options. Which one should I go? Well, every door seems to be a good door. Every opportunity seems to be a good opportunity of how we move forward. The secret of navigation then becomes, it's how do we navigate through this whole process? How we move forward in this? How do we begin to unravel? How do we take the steps? How do we use our compass, our maps to navigate through this whole array of situations? And the roadmap towards the organization vision. Now, we also have to take on a systems approach to thinking. Because it's not just thinking through our own lens. We've got to see the ecology of things, how our very actions impact the ecology and the world around us. And it's a test of congruence. Yeah, the test of congruence and coherence. Does what we do cohere? Does what we do sets a framework of congruence for where we want to be. So something that's going to be very, very important. So are the next steps helping the client to move forward towards their vision, or is it just a good option in the short run, but it will distract from the long-term gain? There will be options that all seem good and well, and we just take the leap of faith in choosing what's the better than being stuck in a quagmire. So big question for all of us here. How much clarity is enough for us to move forward? Post them down in our channel below. Share with me your thoughts. How much clarity is enough for us to move forward? The truth is this. Clarity begets clarity. Clarity begets clarity, right? I like to call it how the very clarity within our minds produces new clarities inside of us, right? And oftentimes we say this, that the very clarity that we have helps us to move forward towards where we want to be. The very clarity that we need helps us to move forward to where we want to be. We don't need absolute clarity to move forward. What we want to know is that the very short clarity that we have, however small, if we can take one step forward, let's do it. If we can take half a step forward, let's do it. Because each step of the way, things get clearer. The past is often clear, but the future often becomes very unclear. And that's okay. Let's take one step at a time, building upon the promises that we have in our lives every step of the way, and we begin to find hope and joy in those circumstances. So there you have the three main approach to coaching, right? Or the future-oriented coaching of non-linear or non-linearity. The potentiality of the attributes of coaching in its ability to stretch the client's mind, to help them see beyond their present moment, see beyond the past, and look forward to the future will help them shape the very realities of their world. And one of the secrets and the exciting things that I love to share is that the future, it's only going to get brighter. The future is not going to get darker, the future is going to get brighter. So if you like this series of episodes, give me a thumbs up, share this with your friends, let me know how this lessons and truths have helped you so far in your coaching journey. And share me your thoughts in the comment section below. That will really encourage me to create more content for you guys. So if you'd like to hear more about different videos, do share with me as well. Or if you would like to engage me to help coach you, one of my flagship programs is what I call Brave Your Story. In Braving Your Story, I help to take individuals through a whole journey, right, through a period of 6 to 12 months, to brave their story, to own their story, to help them find connection and discovery, rediscovering themselves all over again, and helping them to realize the strengths of their past, drawing all the learnings from the past, and helping them to create a more compelling future ahead. So if you'd like to get engaged with me, do drop me a message at Jedi@coachingchangeslives.com. Say, hey Jedi, I want to be part of your Brave Your Story program, and I want you to coach me. So I look forward to seeing you in our upcoming videos, and stay safe.